In the advanced praise for Just Friends, somebody says that it is impossible to believe that this is Haley's debut novel. I would argue that nobody would believe this isn't her debut novel. Today, I really want to talk about Haley Pham's book. Listen, I read this book 2 months ago. I don't remember that much about it. Good thing I just filmed this video for 40 minutes and my mic wasn't on. So, if you don't know about Haley Pham, this is her book. She just published a book. She's very famous in the book tube community, and she has a very famous husband as well. He's Ryan Trahan. You might have heard of 50 Dates in 50 Days. Great series if you ask me. Well, you might have already watched 10 videos literally about this book and people criticizing it, but that's not gonna stop me. That's not gonna stop me. Blair and Declan were inseparable growing up. Best friends who knew each other better than anyone else. But when an impulsive kiss took them from friends to something more, everything changed. Just as quickly as their romance started, one moment shattered it all, leaving them with nothing but heartbreak and silence. Now, 4 years later, Blair is back in their coastal hometown of Seabrook to support her mom and care for her great-aunt Lottie as her health declines. Let's go a little bit down here, okay? Blair says that her world irreversibly changed when she found out that Lottie was dying, which by the way, she did die. She divides her life between the part of her life when Lottie was okay and the part of her life when Lottie wasn't okay. And that's really weird because she hasn't seen Lottie in 4.5 years. To make ends meet, Blair applies to work at a coffee shop, only to discover it's managed by none other than Declan. The boy she loved, the boy she lost, the boy who still makes her heart race. As Blair's path keeps crossing with Declan's, old wounds resurface. Secrets are revealed and sparks reignite. But could their future ever be free of their past? Told in dual timelines that unravel the magic and pain of first love, Just Friends is a moving, romantic story about second chances, the weight of dreams, and finding your way back to the people who feel like home. It's not a spicy story. It doesn't want to be spicy. Haley, from what I know, is pretty religious, so that's probably a reason why she didn't go into spiciness. Anyway, what did I want to say? Yes, hello, let's go back here. So basically, Blair applies to work. Did I say basically? Basically, Blair applies to work at a coffee shop, only to discover it's managed by none other than Declan, her first love, right? Okay, it's getting hot in here. Declan and Blair worked together when they were kids. They were kind of in love with each other. Blair went and did her thing and made Declan feel like absolute trash, and she broke up with him. And that's the reason why Declan acts like he doesn't know who Blair is now. Declan interviews her for his coffee shop, which by the way, he is the owner of. It's not only managed by Declan, he's the owner of that coffee shop. These guys are so rich. This whole book is tone deaf. Very out of touch. Anyway, so Declan acts like he doesn't know Blair because of the things that Blair has done to him. But the thing is that Blair tells us many times that Declan was in an accident after they broke up. We never know how he recovered or whatever. Like, we do find it out later in the book, but at first, you're standing there thinking, does Declan have amnesia? Is that why he doesn't recognize Blair? Because he's acting like she's a total stranger. He becomes her boss and still he acts like he's never had a conversation with her in his whole life. And really, that would have been a cooler premise, if you ask me, for him to have amnesia. Because him just forgetting about her like that, not forgetting, but acting like he's forgetting about her like that just seems cruel. Could their future ever be free of their past? I don't know, babes, can they? They're just 20-something and nothing really bad happened to either one of them except for Declan's accident, which by the way, he got a bunch of money for, bought a super expensive house, and also made a coffee shop with. And the dual timelines that are told are both from the perspective of just Blair, so we don't really find out many things about Declan, if you ask me. Another thing that I have to add here while we're on the subject of the synopsis, every first-time writer, every debut novel, not everyone, but I feel like authors that are a little less experimented with writing, they do tend to make their debut novels much more autobiographical, much more intimate and personal. And sometimes that's done so well, man. Sometimes you find authors that do it so brilliantly. But I feel like Just Friends is done really bad from that point of view, because it's clear that Declan is actually Ryan and Blair is actually Haley. It couldn't have been more obvious. Okay, so we do find out. Wait, I made a smoothie. We do find out that Blair, after she broke up with Declan, she went to college. For 4 years and a half, she was away from home, from her great aunt Lottie and from her mother. Basically, she kind of spent all this time by herself, going to college and trying to make a name for herself in this industry that she was in. I completely forgot what she wanted to do, but she had a job lined up. She wanted to make a bunch of money so that her mother could retire, because she loves her mother so much. And still, she calls her great aunt Lottie's sickness the worst thing that could happen to her. Still, she thinks that she is a victim for something that's happening to her great aunt. She says, I'd spent 4.5 years getting rid of hope. Haley does not ever go into detail about what Blair did in those 4.5 years. The only details that we get are about how she met her best friends, who are also shit, by the way. We never really find out what she did except for thinking about Declan and going to college. So we know that she studied, but I think we could have used some other details regarding whether she had other crushes. And like 4.5 years at college, you never thought about anyone else, which, by the way, is also very stupid and dumb, because in the book, when Declan wasn't trying to hit it at first, Blair got flirty with a guy, and she literally said that he's like the most attractive person or something like that. He's so attractive. And then she says that about Declan. So I do think that in those 4.5 years, she might have had other crushes, but I feel like there's just this constant fear that she's not gonna be seen as the good, nice girl, and that's why she doesn't go into details like this. Did you ever date anybody, and how did that feel? Or if you didn't, how did that feel? I don't know, just let us know something so I don't feel like I'm a 12-year-old reading a book for 12-year-olds, which is exactly how I felt. Haley Pham says that this book is an exploration of grief, which couldn't be further from the truth, honestly. It's barely a romance novel. The grief that Haley Pham is talking about is just an excuse for her to act selfishly all the time with the people around her and blame that on grief. She's grieving her great aunt, who was the love of her life and who also left her $1 million house, happening to be exactly right across the street from Declan's $1 million house too. What do you know? Oh, and also her aunt Lottie ran a convenience store chain, okay, with 7 stores, and she left it all to Blair's mom. How sweet is that? Blair doesn't need to make all that money anymore and go back to Canada or whatever the fuck she was. She can stay in Seabrook in her $1 million house and spend her life with Declan. So Blair hasn't seen her great aunt in 4 years. Then, when this woman dies, Blair keeps reminding us every 4 pages that she's sad Lottie died and that she was so important to her. And she keeps dividing her life as life before Lottie died and life after. You have not seen this woman in 4 years. She keeps referring to this as the worst thing that could happen to her. But hello, wouldn't your mom dying be worse than that? I would have understood if she was like a mother to her totally and irrevocably. Blair barely even knew anything about her. Blair did not even know how rich Lottie was. She didn't even know what she liked to do. She didn't know anything about her passions, which is just so dumb and stupid. And also, when before Lottie died, right, like the night she died or something, Blair got herself on the bed with her, hugged Lottie, and started talking about how much she loves her. I don't know, it was such a weird moment. And I was really just scared for Lottie that she wasn't gonna have any peace before her death. Yeah, she says here that her world was irreversibly changed. It was for the reasons that we mentioned before. Now she's a millionaire because she has $1 million house. Oh, being a hater isn't cool. I got smoothie all over me. Okay. BRB. She says that Lottie dying has affected her a lot, but I never really felt it, aside from the moments when, as I said, she was using it as an excuse to absolve herself of the stupid shit she was doing and saying to people. She uses the grief theme as an excuse. I think she didn't want to say she wrote a pure romance book. She wanted to add something more mature to the whole equation, so she came up with this event where her great aunt died and acted like it was the end of the world, and clearly she wasn't affected by it that much because all she could think about was Declan. And when, God forbid, she did think about her actual great aunt that died, she had to tell us like this: I'm not thinking about Declan much because Lottie just died. There are many syntax problems in this book. I feel like there was no editor present, and I do remember watching a video about this, and the person that made the video said something about her not actually having an editor, and I think I have to agree based on the facts. So what is syntax? Syntax is the grammatical arrangement of words, phrases, and clauses to create well-formed sentences, focusing on correct word order. What she wrote in here is the opposite of that. For example, we have a short blonde-haired girl peeks over the register at me. Okay, you can say that. Or you could say, a short blonde-haired girl peeks at me over the register. Doesn't that make more sense to the reader? The admission does something I don't want to name to my chest. If you really want to write like that, that's your choice. But you could say, the admission does something to my chest that I'm scared to admit. Or something. Even that sounds a little better, and that sounds like shit too. He gestures to his left leg, the one that has a limp. Okay, this is not necessarily about syntax, but I did get really mad here. As I said, Declan had an accident. He was left with a limp, and she mentions this limp about 20 times in the book. We know that it was his left leg that had a limp. She didn't have to mention it for the 51st time. He starts and stops, continuing to read. Okay, let's think about it. Did you really have to mention that he starts and stops? Couldn't you say it in another way? Couldn't you get an editor? Funny how it was never the life lessons they spent hours lecturing you on that stuck. Okay, for this I had to do some mental gymnastics. Go back 2 pages, go forward 2 pages, figure out the context and realize what she's saying is that the life lessons they spent hours lecturing you on never stuck. The way that she describes things in this book is uncanny. For example, and I love this so much, I could write novels about the smile that explodes across Declan's face. Because she's just that good at writing. Blair might be better than Haley. So she could write novels about that smile that explodes on Declan's face, right? But then, she says here, he smiles a soft smile that makes me go warm inside. He says it like it's the truest thing about him. This just feels like a very unintelligent conversation if you ask me. This doesn't feel like a book, but okay. Declan's eyes go sad. Great writing. It's writing at its best, honestly. That's Shakespearean. The next thing that I'm going to read to you is going to be presented with a interpretative dance. Okay? It's going to be accompanied. Is that a word, accompanied?
Accompanied.
The next quote that I'm going to read to you is going to be accompanied by an interpretative dance. I'd never heard a statement sound so much like "I'm proud of you" without saying the words. Yeah, that was good. He uses his father's first name like they're less close than they are. A town that feels too cozy not to be fiction. That convenience store expanded to 2 locations, which later became 7. Slow it down with the details. I exhaled through my nose. No way. That feeling is personified in my stomach right now. We got the dictionary. The dictionary is a big part of this book. Haley loves new words and she loves dangling them around, using them all the time. And Blair as well, she's just the same. She's just the same. And in the first 30 pages, we get the word "fa" about 5 times. And then it gets mentioned 3 more times throughout the book. I drawled with fall lethargy, or he fa tumbles. Fa shyness creeping into his voice. I say with fa enthusiasm. She just loves this word. She just learned it. We all know at this point that Blair is so fascinated by the dictionary. Declan knows this too, and he mentions the word dictionary 2 times throughout the book. I've never seen a person more enthused by a dictionary before, he says about Blair. And in chapter 25, he says, there's practically a photo of you in the dictionary next to the word selfless. No, she's the least selfless character in this book. We also find out in the middle of the book that Blair's biggest dream is actually to become an author. She never mentioned this before whatsoever. No. She starts writing the book in the middle of the book. And it is a romance novel. It is a romance novel. She finishes it at the end of the book, and Blair's novel is based clearly on Declan, right? And Declan is clearly based on Ryan. So we got a really big meta thing going on here. There's no limit between fiction and reality anymore, except if it was good fiction, what I just said would have been a compliment. Because when you have good writing, when you have writers that do a good job, when the line between fiction and reality starts to blur, it actually becomes more interesting. But when you got writers like Haley Pham, the blurry line is just pathetic. It's kind of pathetic. But I don't want to be mean. I could say it's kind of pathetic. And I did say it. But I'm going to change it to, it's just not giving. Another interesting, very interesting fact about Blair, our main character, is that she doesn't have an E at the end, like in Gossip Girl, okay? It's just not there. She's cooler than Blair from Gossip Girl. Okay, here I gathered some really just plain, awkward quotes and sentences that don't make any sense. So let's go through them. My mind can't think clearly through the fog of ancient desire and grief coursing through my body. So this desire is ancient. If you must know, she's 20-something years old. And not to say that a desire can't feel ancient, but it just doesn't apply here. I tell them everything, every painstaking detail, so much so that the earth must have made its full rotation by the time I'm done speaking. Not actually, but it feels like a lifetime has passed. Thank you so much for the clarification. I really thought a year passed since you started speaking. Okay, titles to bittersweet memories. Do you ever title your memories? Lush greenery hugs the roof like a sweater. Like my sweater. Imagine this. That's just such a great analogy. What about this? The one that creates a before and after in your story. Book ending each side. And I wrote in here, she makes being a reader 90% of her personality, but she only mentions something about Divergent once. Like, this is the only title that she's mentioned throughout the book. She's such a big reader, she always has to, make these little book references. She's a reader pop. She's a reader pop. In the advanced praise for Just Friends, somebody says that it is impossible to believe that this is Haley's debut novel. I would argue that nobody would believe this isn't her debut novel. Okay, this is interesting. I tussle my curtain bangs and wipe the tears from beneath my tired eyes. Mind you, she was crying, and she just had to let us know that she has curtain bangs. Just a little detail thrown in there, can't hurt anybody. Now, we get to my favorite part of the video. I gathered 3 reviews from 3 different Goodreads accounts for this book. The first 2 are about that obnoxious sentence she wrote at the beginning of the book, where she said, "I'm here to buy a copy of a book I read on Kindle." Frivolous, I know. I already made a video about this book. You can find it here. In there, I said that I do feel like this all the time, okay? I read a lot on my Kindle and on my laptop, and when I really love a book, I wanna hold it in my hands and have it physically. And that's fun in real life. But when you read a book, I just don't want that in there. I just don't want to see people talking about that. And this person here says, "Girl, if you don't shut your mouth." And unfortunately, I felt this way for the duration of the novel. And unfortunately, same. This other person called C Suffering says, "Meta as hell." The part where Blair says she's going to the bookstore to buy a physical copy of a book she read on Kindle for a dopamine hit, which is something else that she mentioned. Please keep that out of my novels. I feel you. But the best, the best review, the one that encapsulates them all, for those thinking about reading this, I hope you're hungry for nothing. And that's all I had to say. I really enjoyed reading this because I love taking notes on it. It was so fun to criticize the writing on this for my own mental sanity. And also, if you ever want to become a writer, please read this book so that you know how not to write. It took me 3 weeks to read this book. That's a very long time for me. I'm a fast reader sometimes. Sometimes I'm a slow reader when it comes to books like this. After I finished this book, oh my goodness, I have to give it to Haley. She just made me want to read good books, man. I couldn't go on like this. I made a decision that I wasn't gonna waste my time. And again, this wasn't time wasted. I really did enjoy this for the reasons that I mentioned. It was just so fun taking notes on this. Would I recommend it? Absolutely. If you have a personality where you feel like you can take it and you will have fun, absolutely read this. Otherwise, it's a waste of time. Anyway, hope you have a good one.